So, today I want to talk to you about something that really blows me away. Our nation is founded on laws and rights that are supposed to matter. But yet, here's the crazy thing: in public school, we don't teach them. Sure, we teach your First Amendment, freedom of speech, but do you really know what that means? Do you understand how the California Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that explains what that means? Do you understand that there are other rights involved in the First Amendment? And most importantly, do you know how to enforce those rights? And this brings up my point. Now, I'm willing to bet you at least 50 of you out there are like, no, I don't know how to enforce my rights. I can enforce them. And that is my point. For those of you who watch my previous videos, you know that I speak heavily about the law. And the importance of knowing one's rights and enforcing them. So I want to make sure that this is clear. No public school in our nation teaches children how to enforce their rights. Not one. In fact, the system is built to ensure that ignorance of the law is no excuse and you can go to prison for your ignorance. And it's because money can be made that way. So I would like to start a campaign. And I would like your help. And the campaign's theme is this: teach our children how to enforce their rights. I think that children at the age of 6 should start being taught the exact Constitution, and I'm not talking about the legislative. I'm talking, or the branches of government. I'm talking about what their rights are and how to enforce them. How to write a legal document. Because if you don't know how to do this, you're screwed. How to take and make sure that you can enforce your freedom of speech. If a cop comes up to you and slams you into the ground for no reason, do you know what to do? No? Well, can you afford a lawyer at $1,500 an hour? No? Well, guess what? Then your rights don't matter. So again, let's make the Constitution matter again. Let's make our rights matter again. Let's teach our children. Okay? Let's teach our children how to enforce their rights. Don't teach them just that they have rights. Because I can teach you that all day. But if I don't teach you how to enforce those rights, or if I don't show you where to go to enforce those rights, then what's the point? In this country, one of the reasons why everything's going to crap is because people don't know how to enforce their rights. And if you're poor, you can't hire a lawyer to enforce your rights. So, that's just how it is. I could be wrong. You may not agree with me. Leave a comment. I'll read it. I'll even reply to it. But either way, the whole point is the same. Is that if you don't know how to enforce your rights, what rights do you really have? Think about this. This is not just you. This is your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. If you don't care about your rights, well, do you care if your children go to prison? Do you care if your niece and nephew, your mama, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your whole dang family go to prison. And oftentimes, depending on the state, in some states, evidence isn't necessary. You know, so please contact your educational director in your state. You know, sometimes it's called this educational controller. Sometimes it's the director of education. The secretary of education, whatever. Just contact the person in charge of your state educational system and demand, don't ask, demand that the enforcement of constitutional rights be taught in public school. I mean, it's really... So please contact your representative. And vote. I mean, seriously, you claim you love your kids. You claim that you love your family. You claim that, that criminals are a joke, that, whatnot. Our criminal justice system is a joke. It really is. Me personally, evidence in my case just didn't matter. I just spent 5 minutes on the phone with my representative, and you know what they basically told me? Oh, well. Honestly, if your children don't know how to enforce their rights, and this is going to sound messed up, but they're going to be a sex offender. They're going to be a felon. They're going to be, they're going to be that guy or gal that's sitting in prison for 20 years. Because in this country, 3 in 5 will go and be incarcerated at some point in their life. That was a study that was done by the Rand Corporation, a long time ago. And it's sad. It really is. There are people, there are guards in prisons that will openly tell you, please, don't watch your kids, because we will. When they grow up, they'll be right here. We'll watch them. And it's really all about job security. The criminal justice system has become politicized. It really has. When was the last time you heard somebody say, or you heard a politician say, let's get hard on civil judgments? Excuse me. When was the last time you heard somebody say, that civil litigation, you hear, let's get tough on crime. And, tough on crime's great until you're in it. Until you're that guy or gal that finds yourself in a wreck. Because believe me, it only takes a tenth of a second. And a lot of times, you don't even have to do nothing. Nothing real. In my own case, I took it to save somebody I love. Who then turned around and, had her brainwashed, and to believing that, that everything was wrong, just in so many ways. The facts, cops planted evidence in my case. It doesn't matter. The fact that, the judge and the DA and my own lawyer knew about it just doesn't matter. It doesn't. I went to the appellate system. I learned appellate law. But it was all too little, too late. Had I known about a Marsden motion during my court hearing, I wouldn't have been stuck with a lawyer that openly admitted to me, to my face, multiple times, that I was guilty, that he believed I was guilty. Had I known that I could have appealed all of the judge's rulings, had I known that I could have overtalked my lawyer, and presented the fact that cops planted evidence, had I known any of this, none of what happened to me would have happened. But I didn't know. That in my mind was mentally broken. I mean, I was facing over 300 years to life. Um, I was mentally broken. So, my story is a cautionary tale, and I do these videos so that you don't have to, so that your children don't have to. Um, my story is complex, and it's very, very messed up. Here very soon, as soon as I find me a house, I'm homeless, by the way, right now. As soon as I find me a house, I'm going to um, post all of my evidence. All of my entire case will be online. I'm going to make sure it's not editable. I mean, but at the same time, I do this so that you understand what you're up against. These people will do whatever is necessary to get a conviction, and they will harass your family. They will harass your children. They will do whatever. I mean, literally whatever is necessary. Um, they'll threaten you. They'll threaten your family. They'll whatever. And if you don't know your rights, you don't know what to do about it. Because when you're stuck in a jail cell, you have very little access to anything. I mean, your lawyer is literally your lifeline. Just like on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And if he doesn't like you, if he doesn't trust you, if he doesn't believe in your innocence, well, you're going to prison. So, again, if you don't know your rights, you're boned. Your family's boned. It's just that simple. So, again, please, I beg you, call your state and federal representative and tell them you want your child taught how to enforce their constitutional rights. Because if you can't, if you don't, hey, and don't get it twisted, there's a lot of states out there, if you're a felon, you can vote. Seriously, California, if you're not on probation or parole, you can vote. Vote. Please, register to vote. Even if you can't vote, register to vote and vote. Because honestly, they don't check. They don't. Get your boys heard. Because if you don't, man, it's all bad. I fought very hard to come home. And I ain't got nothing. I mean, I had a solid, man, I ain't got nothing. So, let me tell you, learn your rights. Make sure your children are taught by a paralegal in public school. Excuse me, I'm sick. Make sure your children are taught. Because if you don't, the correctional system will teach them. One way or another. They're going to learn. Question is, do you want them to learn in or outside of prison? And they have to be taught how to do it right. Because a lot of times, if your name's not in the right place, the courts throw it out. They're supposed to interpret layman documents, in a layman way, and they don't. If you can't get the respect of the court, you're screwed. So, please, call your representative. Call your state educational representative and demand, beg, plead, form a local coalition. Get people together. We need our children to know their rights and how to enforce them. Knowing your rights is nothing. Everyone can tell me what the Second Amendment is, but do you know how else is involved in the Second Amendment? Or do you think that it's only the right to bear arms? If you think it's only the right to bear arms, you better get to reading. Call your representative. I've called mine several times. Call your representative. Call your governor. Call your congressman. Call somebody. Call your mayor. I don't care. Get it taught. You want your children taught by a paralegal. Because here's a little hint for you. Lawyers don't know the law. It's paralegals that know the law. Just a lawyer could afford to pay to go to law school. Paralegals know the law. They're the ones that have to study it every day, every week, every hour. A lawyer's job is to present the evidence. That's what they're trained to do. They're not trained to know the law. They're trained to present the evidence. Sure, they learn the law as they go, but in reality, paralegals don't get the respect they deserve. Anyway, call your representative. I'm going to include a link here for California. I can't do it for every county or every state. So please call your representative. Even if all you do is call and leave a message. A lot of times you'll get a message and leave your phone number. And they'll call you back. They will. Not always. I mean, you won't get your representative. You'll get an aide. But still. They call every day. Call every week. Call every hour. I don't care. We just need our children taught. If you care about your children, you care about your loved ones, like you say you do, call your representative. It'll take 2 minutes out of your day. That's it. Save your child. Save your family from going to prison. And for God's sake, let's make evidence matter again. Hey? And vote. Thank you. As always, I'm Kira Dresden. Like, subscribe, and I read the comments. Nobody makes any, but I read the comments. Look, final note, final thought, I beg you, for your children, from one citizen to another, get your children taught their rights and how to enforce them.